In 1941, Britain looked to the sky for salvation, and from the hangars of hope rose the Hawker Typhoon, a machine built not just to fly, but to dominate the air. But hope turned to horror when its mighty engine burst like fire in mid-flight, and its tail tore away without warning, sending pilots to their deaths before they ever saw the enemy. And then came the silent killer, carbon monoxide leaking into the cockpit, choking pilots slowly as they fought to stay conscious thousands of feet above the earth. Commanders argued to abandon the aircraft, to stop the bleeding of their own men, yet Britain had no choice. The German FW-190 ruled the skies. So engineers worked through sleepless nights, reinforcing wings, sealing cockpits, resurrecting a machine the world had already buried. But high above the clouds, the Typhoon still failed, heavy and sluggish, outmaneuvered by German steel. And then fate revealed its secret. Welcome to Britain at war. September 1941. Europe was burning. The sky itself felt like a battlefield, where nations no longer fought on land alone, but in the clouds above. Britain, wounded from the Battle of Britain, bruised by endless air raids, needed something more than just courage. It needed a new weapon, something powerful enough to challenge the rising terror of German mastery in the air. And so, from the hangars and design tables of British engineers emerged a machine that seemed almost too powerful to exist, the Hawker Typhoon. Designed around a monstrous 24-cylinder Napier Sabre engine, it promised more than just speed, it promised domination. Newspapers called it the new spear of the Royal Air Force, a fighter that would end the reign of the Luftwaffe's newest nightmare, the Focke-Wulf 190, a German fighter so fast and lethal that even the legendary Spitfire struggled against it. Hope was reborn, but no one knew that this hope hid a tragedy inside it. When the Typhoon first took to the skies, pilots expected glory. Instead, they found death. The mighty engine, the very heart that was meant to give the aircraft unmatched power, became its greatest threat. It overheated violently, sometimes exploding mid-flight like a firebomb. Pilots described the engine as a caged animal trying to tear itself apart. Oil burst across windshields, flames licked the cockpit walls, and metal screamed as it tore. Some pilots didn't even have time to radio before their plane spiraled into the earth. Then came a horror no one had predicted. The tail section of the aircraft, under high-speed stress, snapped clean off. A pilot would be diving, confident, focused, and in less than a blink, the rear half of his aircraft simply separated. The sky would swallow him whole. The RAF didn't just lose aircraft, it lost sons. Fear began to spread like smoke. Men who were brave enough to charge into storms of bullets now hesitated to fly the Typhoon. They nicknamed it the Widowmaker, the Coffin with wings, and most haunting of all, the Murderer. And yet, the horror grew deeper. While flying, pilots began experiencing dizziness, blurred vision, and choking breaths. Some collapsed mid-air. The enemy wasn't shooting them. The plane itself was poisoning them. Carbon monoxide leaked from the exhaust into the sealed cockpit. Pilots were slowly being suffocated by the very machine they trusted. Imagine a pilot, thousands of feet above ground, feeling his heartbeat slow, hands weaken, mind sinking into darkness, while the world outside the glass spun in silence. Many crashed without ever knowing why. The Typhoon was not just flawed, it was cursed. Commanders gathered in dark rooms, voices rising, fists slamming on wooden tables. Cancel the Typhoon, save the lives of the pilots. Shut down production, save morale. But another voice, quieter and heavier, argued back. If the Typhoon dies, Britain has nothing to counter the FW-190. Factories were already producing thousands of components. Skilled workers had spent months shaping metal into wings and frames. Britain did not have the luxury of surrender. So instead of abandoning the Typhoon, they fought to fix it. Engineers reshaped tail sections, strengthened wing joints, redesigned cooling systems, resealed cockpits, and retested every bolt, screw, and cable. Every improvement was written in sweat and sleepless nights, and every mistake was written in blood. But even after repairs, the Typhoon revealed a final betrayal. It was nearly useless at high altitude. It was heavy, too heavy. When it climbed into the thin, cold air where most dogfights took place, it became slow, unresponsive, sluggish. The FW-190 danced around it like a wolf circling a wounded stag. The very role it was built for, air superiority, was impossible. The Typhoon had failed. Or so everyone thought. Then fate intervened in the most unexpected way. During low-level coastal patrols, where the Typhoon flew just above the sea, skimming waves and grazing treetops, pilots discovered something astonishing. Down low, the Typhoon changed. Its weight, once a curse, became balance. Its giant engine didn't choke, it roared. Its frame didn't tremble, it locked in like steel. The Typhoon wasn't a high-flying eagle. It was a predator built for the earth. A hunter. A storm at ground level. The RAF had accidentally created the most terrifying ground attack aircraft the world had ever seen. Soon, the Typhoon was armed with something new. Something brutal. Something devastating. The RP-3 rocket. These weapons were not bullets, not shells. They were thunderbolts of fire and steel, each one capable of destroying a tank, a bunker, a train locomotive, or an armored convoy truck in one strike. A single Typhoon could carry 8. A squadron could erase an entire armored division in minutes. Pilots learned to fly inches above fields, weaving between trees, roaring across the earth, turning German tanks into flaming funeral pyres. Civilians began calling the aircraft the Angel of Liberation. German soldiers called it simply the J-bow, the low-flying terror. Then came D-Day, June 1944. The beaches were choked with fire, steel, sand, and blood. The German army prepared to crush the Allied invasion with tanks and reinforcements. But before those tanks could move, the sky screamed. Hundreds of Typhoons swept across the French countryside, streaking like arrows of fire. Rockets plunged into panzer formations, fuel trucks, artillery positions, supply convoys. The earth shook. German officers wrote in their diaries, "We feared the Typhoons more than any tank, any ship, any soldier. When the rockets howled, we prayed." In the Falaise pocket, where German armies tried to escape encirclement, the Typhoons descended like a storm of judgment. Roads turned into fields of twisted metal and flame. Tank crews fled on foot, abandoning their steel giants. Even when the rockets missed their mark, the psychological terror shattered German morale. Soldiers refused to move during daylight. Movement meant death. The Typhoon had done what no tank or infantry brigade could do. It broke the German army spine. So in the end, the Typhoon did not become the high-flying hero Britain had envisioned. It never danced gracefully in the heavens. It roared along the ground like thunder tearing across the earth. It was born in tragedy and redeemed in fire. A machine that once killed its own pilots became the savior of thousands more. Its pilots learned courage not against the enemy, but against the machine they flew. And in doing so, they changed the war. The Hawker Typhoon was not just an aircraft. It was proof that even broken things can become legends.